these are big numbers. These are things that get ownership reaction. And so we saw it start to go, but listen, this is a results business at the end of the day. If this is a team that's 8-3, not 3-8, we're talking about something completely different. We're not talking about Nico Harrison getting fired on November 11th. This team is 8-3. This is a results business. They wanted wins. They wanted production. They wanted a team that was competing for a championship. This team is not doing that. When you make the trade for Luka Doncic, you put everything on the line. Like Nico Harrison put whatever you want to call it, his body on the line, his nuts on the line. Like he put himself out there. And when you do that, you have to live with the results.
What about behind the scenes? And I'm thinking about Jason Kidd. I love Jason Kidd. I think he's a fantastic coach. But we all know that there have been power moves that has been attempted to be made in the past when he was at a different location. You know, you're talking about Brooklyn. You're talking about other situations. Even in Milwaukee, things were looking at differently. You got some people in NBA circles now asking about what role, if any, Jason Kidd has played because Nico Harrison is gone. Him and Jason Kidd were hired on the same day a few years ago. What's the status of Jason Kidd now as we speak?
Jason Kidd's still the head coach. He's still under contract for multiple more years. He just signed a contract extension. And so Jason Kidd got an extension after getting some Knicks interest in the offseason, and he didn't get an extension with Nico Harrison. It was only Jason Kidd that got the extension. So it buys him some time, of course. When there's change like this, Nico Harrison was brought in together with Jason Kidd by Mark Cuban. Now you have all these years later, Nico Harrison's out, and we don't know who's going to run that team moving forward. Listen, what I've felt in the last how many ever months, 4 or 5 months, is you've seen a splintering. Like you've seen people separate themselves from the Luka Doncic trade. Nico Harrison's the only one that's put his stamp on it because it was his decision. But there were other members in that organization that also supported that decision too. They weren't running the team though, but they supported that decision. Luka Doncic hasn't acknowledged Jason Kidd since he's been back, since they played against each other in those games, Lakers Mavs games. My understanding, I think there's an understanding there that Jason Kidd also wasn't one of the ones that was thrilled with Luka Doncic's conditioning different things near his exit. And so now you have a situation where Jason Kidd is still the coach. We'll see who the new GM is, and eventually that new GM will make decisions on everything.
I guess what I'm asking, Sean, is because nobody would know better than you. You're the best in the business. I'm asking, is this a situation where we could ultimately witness Jason Kidd actually gaining more power and influence within the organization?
Possibly in the interim, but my understanding is they're looking for a lead basketball executive as their new head of basketball. I have not heard any realness to Jason, like a Jason Kidd stepping in as a president, like we've seen in past situations. Whenever a coach, might step into that role. I haven't heard that in this.
Anthony Davis, I've often said this, and you need to hear me reiterate it to you right in front of our audience as we speak. I said this trade is about Anthony Davis because it's not like they put Luka Doncic on the market and tried to get the best available offer. They only made a call of the Lakers. Rob Pelinka and Nico Harrison, who have a history with one another, and they made this swap. One could argue you could have gotten a lot more than Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and the 2029 first-round pick for the services of Luka Doncic, and you didn't do that. And so for Anthony Davis to have missed 6 straight games, for him to get hurt the very first game he arrived as a Maverick after having a spectacular first half and getting injured in the second half of that game and having last season compromised, I think that ultimately the indictment against Nico Harrison is that you traded a 25-year-old superstar at the time for a dude who is a champion and is a star in this league when healthy, but is almost never available, and that's what ultimately hurt Nico Harrison. To that you say what?
I think a lot of people would agree with you, Stephen. I think a lot of people look around the league, look at the roster that Nico Harrison put together, and on paper it looked good, but you have to account for the fact that when you're trading a 25-year-old Luka Doncic, you're doing it for a guy, I believe AD was, 31, 32, is over 30 for sure.
Right.
He's
approaching 32.
For a guy that, approaching 32. You're doing that for a player 6 to 7 years older. And so I think you have, that's just a fact. And so when you do that trade, you shorten your window, you shorten the expectations, It has to be championship or bust every year. They already made it to the finals with Luka Doncic in 2024. There's only one other thing you can do if you move Luka Doncic. That's getting to the finals, that's winning a championship. Last year, they lost in the play-in game. We saw AD come back in game 1, look like an absolute beast, messes up his adductor. He's out 6 weeks after that. He comes back for the play-in game. He looked like a shell of himself. Then this offseason, he has surgery for detached retina in the offseason. He's not able to do any activities for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. Any player that has his offseason ruined for 2 months, not able to do any activities, you're going to lose cardio, you're going to lose basketball shape. We saw Anthony Davis come in, wasn't his pristine basketball shape. So you're already playing from behind. And the irony of all this is Luka Doncic was traded in February off a calf strain and internal issues with his rehab, with the way his basketball conditioning was. Now you fast forward 9 months later, Anthony Davis, calf strain, concern about his basketball conditioning, and concern about how his rehab is going. He's missed the last 6 games. On Saturday, he wanted to play. He'd been doing 5-on-5. The organization shut it down. They had fears, from my understanding, that this could be a Tyrese Halliburton part 2. They didn't want that. The medical staff didn't want that. So they made the decision, shut AD down. He didn't play Saturday. He didn't play Monday. We'll see if he plays Wednesday against Phoenix. But all of that plays into it. They didn't get the results on the court that they needed, not only from Anthony Davis, but the entire team, ever since making that crazy, jarring trade.
I shared this with my audience because, you know, not only are you the ultimate NBA insider, you're the best in the business, but you know what? It ain't just about the information. You know your basketball, which is why it's tricky, because when I bring you on First Take and I bring you on the show here, I'm like this, you know, I don't want to compromise my brother right here because he got his information, got his sources, but you know what the man knows is basketball and stuff like that. But damn, I don't want to be asking him these questions. But I got to ask you this stuff, and I don't know if anybody has asked you this, Sean. If Nico had stepped back and said, you know what, I'm not going to call the Lakers, and I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to call around and see what we can get for Luka. What kind of deal was out there for the Dallas Mavericks other than the Anthony Davis deal that he settled for? Could you tell us what they could have gotten for Luka Doncic last February?
A ton of draft picks. I mean, you think about, if you're trying to make a deal just for draft picks, you can get, I mean, Mikal Bridges ended up with a 4 or 5 first. Desmond Bane just got 4 first. If you just want draft picks, you could have traded Luka Doncic for 6, 7, 8 first. I mean, if Desmond Bane is going for 4, Mikal Bridges is 4, 5, whatever that ended up being, I think 5.
Right.
Rudy
Mikal
Gobert
Bridges was 5. Mikal Bridges was 5. Bane was 4. Yes.
A few years ago, Rudy Gobert, we know he went for a massive haul. I think it was 4 firsts, a few swaps. You just look, if you want picks, you could have gotten that level of picks, if not more. If you wanted another player, that might be a little bit more difficult. You don't know what's out there. You kind of have to see a player become available. You know, who could that be? You know, I look at this summer. If they held on to Luka Doncic, and if you got wind that Giannis could be available, could there be something there where you swap Luka for Giannis? Is there something that you could have done with Luka with